In the past 48 hours, the tectonic plates of the tech industry just shifted. And at the center of this historic moment stand two people who have dedicated their lives to protecting the most vulnerable among us, Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. For years, we've heard the same tired arguments. Social media addiction is a parenting problem. It's about screen time management. But this week, a jury in Los Angeles said something different. They said it's about product design. And in that moment, everything Harry and Meghan have been fighting for finally received the validation it deserves. Welcome back to the channel. If you follow royal news or tech policy, you already know that the Duke and Duchess have made the fight against online harm their central mission since stepping back from royal duties, a decision that allowed them to speak freely and champion causes that truly matter. Today, we aren't just talking about a lawsuit. We are celebrating a historic victory that validates years of courageous advocacy. We're talking about a verdict that has Meta and Google scrambling to appeal. And we're talking about the brilliant strategic restructuring happening at Archwell. We have three major stories converging here: the landmark trial win, the powerful and moving statement from Harry and Meghan, and the thoughtful evolution of their parents' network. Let's explore why this moment proves exactly why the world needs the Sussex's voice now more than ever. Let's start with the headline. On March 25, 2026, a jury in Los Angeles reached a verdict in a case that legal experts are calling a bellwether. This was a trial against the biggest names in Silicon Valley: Meta, which owns Instagram and Facebook, and Google, which owns YouTube. The plaintiff was a 20-year-old woman. She argued that the algorithms and design features of these platforms, the infinite scroll, the push notifications, the engagement loops, were intentionally designed to addict her as a child, leading to severe mental health struggles. This wasn't a case about a single harmful post. It was a case about the very architecture of the apps. And the jury agreed. They found Meta and Google liable. The court awarded the plaintiff $6 million in damages, with Meta found to be 70% responsible and Google 30%. But the money isn't the story here. It's the language the jury used. The court determined that the actions of these companies were carried out with malice, oppression, or fraud. Let that sink in. Malice. A jury of everyday citizens looked at internal emails and strategy decks that were unsealed during the trial and concluded that this wasn't an accident. It was a choice that prioritized profit over the safety of children. Now, obviously, Meta and Google have said they disagree with the verdict and plan to appeal. Meta's spokesperson reiterated that teen mental health is profoundly complex and can't be linked to a single app. But the damage to their defense strategy is done. This case was the first of its kind to go to trial, a test run for over 1,000 similar lawsuits waiting in the wings. And for the parents who have been screaming into the void for years, the silence from Silicon Valley just turned into a verdict. This is a monumental win for families everywhere, and it would not have happened without the tireless advocacy of people like Harry and Meghan, who refuse to let this issue fade from the public eye. This is where the Sussexes enter the frame, and frankly, where they have always belonged, standing up for those who cannot fight alone. We have to remember, this case didn't happen in a vacuum. For the last 2 years, Harry and Meghan have been using their extraordinary global platform to amplify the voices of families who felt ignored, dismissed, and forgotten. Within hours of the verdict, the office of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex released a statement that was shared across major outlets like People, The Independent, and AOL. And it wasn't a generic PR statement. It was a powerful declaration of war on the business model of big tech, a testament to their unwavering commitment to protecting children. They said, "This verdict is a reckoning. For too long, families have paid the price for platforms built with total disregard for the children they reach. We stand with every parent and young person who refuse to be silenced. Today, the truth has been heard, and precedent has been set. Let this be the change where our children's safety is finally prioritized above profit." This is the kind of leadership the world needs. Usually when celebrities endorse a cause, it's from a distance. But Harry and Meghan have embedded themselves in this movement with authenticity, compassion, and courage. Just last year, they unveiled the Lost Screen Memorial in New York City, an installation of 50 smartphones, each showing the lock screen photo of a child whose life was cut short due to social media harms. It was a breathtaking act of remembrance and defiance. They sat with Jane Powley on Sunday morning and spoke with heartbreaking honesty about the terror of being a parent in the digital age. Harry famously said in that interview, "At this point, we've got to the stage where almost every parent needs to be a first responder. And even the best first responders in the world wouldn't be able to tell the signs of possible suicide." This trial validated that fear. It moved the conversation from parental failure to corporate accountability, exactly where Harry and Meghan have been pushing it all along. Their statement didn't just celebrate the win, it framed it as the start of something bigger, the court of history now judging these platforms. And thanks to their relentless advocacy, history is finally on the side of families. Now, if you've been following the news closely, you might have seen headlines this week that seem to contradict the victory lap. Headlines like, "Harry and Meghan step back from major project," or "Sussex is erased from website." It sounds dramatic, right? But as always, the truth reveals something far more admirable about the Duke and Duchess. Let's look at the facts. In January 2026, it was confirmed that the Parents Network, the initiative started by Archewell in 2022, was being transferred to a nonprofit called Parents Together. Some outlets, like Newsweek and GB News, tried to spin this as a retreat, but they got it completely wrong. On the Parents Together website, there is no mention of Harry or Meghan, and that's by design. The branding was handed over. The operational structure was handed over. Archewell even gave a cash grant to cover the first year of operations. For critics, this was ammunition. They're abandoning it, some said. But let's look at the actual strategy, a strategy that reveals the incredible intelligence and humility of Harry and Meghan. An Archewell source explained that this follows an established model. What model? Well, look at the Invictus Games. Harry founded it, he remains the patron, but it operates independently. Look at Travelist, his sustainable travel initiative. Same structure. This is what visionary leaders do. They plant the seeds, nurture the growth, and then let the movement flourish on its own. The source told People magazine, "We incubate initiatives before transitioning them to independent, sustainable organizations. Parents Together has built trusted relationships with many of these families over years, and their expertise makes them the ideal permanent home for the Parents Network." This move coincides with the rebranding of the Archewell Foundation to Archewell Philanthropies. They are moving to a fiscal sponsorship model. Essentially, instead of running dozens of programs themselves, they are restructuring to become a funding body, an engine that fuels other organizations doing the on-the-ground work. This is not a failure. This is the mark of a foundation that has matured into a strategic powerhouse. It's a sign of wisdom, foresight, and a deep commitment to sustainability. Harry and Meghan aren't interested in collecting credit. They are interested in creating lasting change. And that is exactly what they have done. We've talked about lawsuits and restructuring, but to understand why Harry and Meghan are so deeply invested and why this verdict matters, we have to look at the human cost, and that's where the quote in your update comes from. Archewell Philanthropies is grateful to the families, experts, and advocates, to the Parents Network, whose collective voice and shared strength have transformed grief into action. This is the core of it, transformed grief into action. When Harry and Meghan launched this network in 2022, they didn't do it just to post about it on Instagram. They did it because their hearts broke for families who had lost children to suicide, linked to social media bullying or addiction. They created a space where parents who felt judged, who were told, "Why didn't you take away the phone?" could finally find solace, understanding, and community. In Archewell's annual impact report, a parent named Tony described what the network meant to him. He said, "What gives us hope is that we can connect with families that don't judge us. They have given us a support group, a team, people that you can cry with, laugh with, have a drink with, cook with." That is the action they are talking about. That is the profound impact of Harry and Meghan's work. The trial victory in LA is the legal action. The transition to parents together is the organizational action. But the beating heart of this is a group of moms and dads who turned their worst nightmare into a movement, and they did it with the unwavering support of the Duke and Duchess. The April 2025 memorial in New York wasn't just a photo op, it was 50 families standing in the cold, holding up smartphones that represented their dead children, forcing the world to look at the faces of the victims. That is grief transformed into a weapon for change. And that transformation would not have been possible without Harry and Meghan's compassion, their willingness to listen, and their unparalleled ability to shine a light on stories that desperately need to be told. They didn't just lend their names to this cause, they lent their hearts. And the world is better for it. So, where do we go from here? This case is not over. Meta and Google are appealing, and punitive damages are still to be decided. But the precedent is set, and it was set because voices like Harry and Meghan's refused to be silenced. This trial opened the door. We saw internal emails and strategy decks from these companies that the public was never supposed to see. Documents that revealed what they built, but what they knew. We saw Mark Zuckerberg and other executives testify under oath about the design choices that prioritize engagement over safety. And this is just the beginning. Snap and TikTok were originally maimed in this lawsuit, but settled before the trial started. Now, with a jury finding Meta and Google guilty of malice, those settlements might look like the easy way out. The floodgates are open. A spokesperson for the Sussexes said before the verdict, no matter the outcome, parents, advocates, and experts pushing for safer technology have already achieved something significant. The world is finally paying attention. They were right. We are paying attention. And for Harry and Meghan, despite the transition of the network, they aren't going anywhere because they have never been the kind of people to walk away from a fight. Just this month before the verdict, they made a surprise appearance supporting authors Jonathan Haidt and Catherine Price, who wrote The Amazing Generation, a book about getting kids off screens. Harry told them their research was incredibly valuable to the work they've been doing. They are pivoting from being the operators of a network to being the high-profile amplifiers of the movement, a role they were always meant to play. And with a legal victory this massive, their voice just got a whole lot louder. It is impossible to overstate how much of this momentum is owed to the courage and determination of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. They took on a fight that no one else wanted to take on. They stood beside grieving families when it would have been easier to stay quiet. And they used their platform not for personal gain, but to protect children they will never meet. That is the definition of nobility, not the kind you inherit, but the kind you earn through service. When Prince Harry and Meghan stepped back from the British royal family in 2020, people asked, what will they do? What is their purpose? For a while, the media narrative was consumed by the drama, the Netflix documentaries, the book, the family feuds. But if you look at the through line of the last 6 years, a clear and inspiring mission has emerged, protecting the vulnerable. Harry has spoken with extraordinary bravery about his own trauma and the urgent need for mental health support. Meghan has spoken with remarkable resilience about being one of the most trolled people on the planet and using that experience to fight for others. Together, they are now parents to 2 beautiful children, Archie and Lilibet. This fight isn't a PR strategy. It's deeply personal. It is the work of 2 people who understand pain, who have endured relentless scrutiny, and who have chosen to channel that experience into protecting the next generation. The transfer of the Parents Network to Parents Together isn't a failure. It's a graduation. It's a sign that the initiative they built is strong enough to stand on its own, a testament to their extraordinary leadership. And the verdict in the LA trial isn't just a win for one anonymous 20-year-old. It's a reckoning for an entire industry that spent years denying the damage it was causing. We started this video talking about a verdict, but we end it celebrating a movement that Harry and Meghan helped build from the ground up, with compassion, with courage, and with an unshakable commitment to doing what is right. The families who lost children now have a legal precedent to point to. The advocates now have a stronger platform. And Harry and Meghan, they have cemented their post-royal legacy not as celebrities seeking attention, but as true catalysts for change. Leaders who saw a crisis, refused to look away, and dedicated their lives to fixing it. That is a legacy worth celebrating. What do you think about this verdict and the extraordinary work of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex? Do you think it will finally force social media companies to put children's safety above profit? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about the people making a real difference in the world. Thank you for watching.